Hi, I'm Marc Randolph, co-founder of Netflix and 6 other companies. Over the years, I've heard that will never work thousands of times, but I've learned there are things we all can do to increase the chances that they will. So join me for That Will Never Work. Hey everyone, today's episode is a special one. We are filming live and in person from the television production studios at High Point University in High Point, North Carolina. We're doing a special student edition where I'm speaking with student entrepreneurs from High Point's entrepreneurship program. I'm talking to Erin Morrow, who's a sophomore here, who's invented a kind of interesting product called the Finger Flyer. It's a small palm-sized drone. And I think Erin does have some questions about where does this go from here? Erin,
hi.
Welcome to That Will Never Work.
Thank you.
So excited to actually hear what you're up to, and more importantly, I want to see this thing in action.
Oh yeah? I'd love to show you.
So tell me about it. What is this thing? Where did the idea come from?
So this is a quadcopter drone, and it doesn't use any controllers. It's all based on sensors, active and passive. So we marketed this as an educational tool, actually, as well as to sell just B2C.
We? Is there more than one?
Yes, there is. My partner, Jacob, he is an engineer at Georgia Tech, and he now works at Boeing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So this is developed by a Boeing engineer.
Yes, it is. He had been working on the technology for quite some time. And then I came up with the idea to make an educational tool. So now we sell it unassembled, and we sell it to school districts across the country alongside our labs.
And what made you come up with the idea to have it be an educational tool rather than a toy?
So I'm an education major, and I'm always working with students. I tutor as well. And I've just seen like all the learning styles that students have and how unique it is to each student. And one day I was just going along with my morning routine, and it kind of dawned on me how cool this drone technology would be for students learning about STEM, because there is a really big push for STEM right now.
Right. So playing with the drone will let kids get better grades in their engineering and math classes, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
I love that idea. So listen, before we actually dig into the entrepreneurial side of this, why don't you at least show me this thing so I have a better idea of what it is, what it does, and
I would love to.
why it's so amazing.
Okay.
Cue it up.
Basically, this is our drone. It doesn't have the battery in it. That's the packaging.
Okay.
And you take our LiPo battery and you plug it into the bottom of the drone.
Okay.
And once you plug it in here.
So this thing is about, was that 3 inches square?
Yeah, about 3-4 inches.
So this is not going to necessarily be big enough to carry a camera to film you skiing. So
No, this does not have a camera. It's just a toy you can pass along with your friends. It can do flips, tricks, spins.
all right,
It's
so there it
a lot of
is.
fun. So once the lights stop blinking on the drone, it's very simple. All you have to do is toss it up. And to turn it off, you just flip it upside down.
Wow, pretty cool. Let me try.
Don't toss it too high. And that's how you stop it.
Wow.
And yeah, there are sensors all along the sides, so I could easily just pass it to you. Do you want me to try?
Sure, let's try that. This drone is oh, we just passed it back and forth without touching it.
Mm-hmm.
So fantastic, Erin. Really
Thank you.
cool.
Yeah.
So tell me, what does this teach kids?
It teaches students all about underlying physics, aerodynamics, all the STEM topics. We made sure that it was really fun and engaging. We wanted to make sure students were doing math without even realizing they were doing math. So there's a lot of calculations about LiPo batteries and why we use this battery and comparing them to like AA batteries or AAA batteries. And there's a lot of calculations that go along with it. It's a hard decision of why it's the best battery, but we made sure students didn't even realize they were doing math as they were following along with our labs.
And so this, I assume, has associated curriculum which comes with it?
Yeah, it does. So we have 5 corresponding lab activities. It's over 70 pages of content. We also have answer keys to all of them that we send to the educators. So they're basically paper labs. We send them in PDF form, but each lab has different learning outcomes for the unit.
What grades is it?
We're targeting high school right now.
Wow, fantastic. So really cool. So how long does this take you to develop?
So my partner had been working on the technology for about a year, year and a half, and Finger Flyer educational drone STEM kits. It just came to me one morning, and we just ran with the idea. And it just took us a few months to get it up and running. Obviously, there's time we need to be able to make the labs, change the way it's manufactured, so it comes unassembled rather than assembled, put together. So we wanted to make sure that students could build it as they do it, as well as getting different materials such as a little screwdriver to use the different tops we have for our drone.
And is the drone itself specially done to lend itself to education uses? In other words, I know, for example, there's another Kickstarter, I can't remember the name, it's a Kickstarter project, which is pretty famous, which does a small drone, which also is sensor driven, where you can touch it. Is it similar to this? In other words, are the two of them really wedded together, or is the content one piece and you could use the content with any drone?
You can't use the content with any drone. It's specific to our drone, with the PCB boards and the way the propellers work, as well as the battery. The drone you're talking about, that's our competitor. Their drone is different than ours. Their sensors are a little bit more sensitive, so it goes at a faster speed. So ours is more appropriate for a classroom setting. Ours also has an emergency shut-off button, which is a small remote that you click so it will land softly. And I know from experience those ones don't have it. So ours is more catered to the classroom setting, even though that wasn't the initial intent of the drone.
In other words, theirs, you can put an eye out with that thing,
Yeah.
as the expression goes.
It'll fly across the room.
Fantastic. Well, really interesting. So, tell me, what is it you want to talk about today?
Mainly our customer acquisition. That's our hardest point here that we're trying to overcome, because we did shift from going B2C to B2B, which is the school districts. And there's a big hurdle in that. It's not as easy as it seems. So what advice do you have on getting into more schools?
Run as fast as you can. No, you've unfortunately picked a really difficult market. Schools, I was going to say, and government, but in some ways schools are like government, are just notoriously difficult because the actual decision makers sometimes, which might be the teacher, have no money. They're already using their own money to pay for basic school supplies. And so as they're making the decision, do I buy markers and paper, or do I buy a drone? And this is a quick segue. How much is this?
We sell it between $30 and $50, depending on the order quantity.
Are they? And normally, when you sell it, you sell one, or do you sell 10? Or what's a pack?
Our classroom sets are anywhere from 12 to 200.
Okay.
Depending
so the
on the
minimum is
school.
12.
Yeah, typically.
That makes sense for a class. So $50 times 12, so $600. And then the content comes in included with it?
Yes, the content is included.
Okay, so you have a $600 price point. So for us, a teacher, that's a non-starter. I mean, unless it's an exceptionally affluent school district. So then the next thing you go, well, great, we're going to sell it at the school level. Now you all of a sudden have departmental decisions. And although that fits in with a $600 budget, it's not $600 because now they're buying it for three science classrooms. But I'm explaining problems that you already are familiar with.
Yeah.
It is nasty. So in my opinion, the trick here is you have to find some entry into a district, into a school, which comes to the teacher.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of stuck at how you get someone to pay $600 for it. Have you considered having parents fund it?
No, we haven't considered having parents fund it. We send mass email campaigns to educators. So we do principals as well as departments of science or engineering. And that's where we typically shoot for, because that's where the money is. And the teachers usually have the connections to the directors of science or engineering.
How many have you sold?
We've sold about 450, and we have
To who?
school districts.
I mean, tell me about one tell me about a successful sale.
So we reached them using our mass email campaigns. And after 2 emails, actually, it took us 2 rounds of contacting them. They reached out wanting a quote and a size, and we negotiated price a little bit, and they ended up ordering 50.
And you've sold about 10 of those kind of packs the same way?
Roughly, yeah. It depends on the order size, so roughly 10.
Okay, so speaking somewhat generically, for an, assuming it stays an education product, and let's leave it as a education product, you have to find some way to get over the barriers that exist in selling into education. And number one, and you know this category way better than I do, probably since you're an education major, is that most teachers don't have $600 to spend on a classroom piece. So you have to start by saying, how do I get past that? And you've got to be creative about it. This is not something where you take that and hammer on it and keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and we need better marketing and we need more aggressive sales. So what you have to do is kind of, as they say, think outside the box. Or I'll tell a quick story.
Okay.
This is from years ago. You probably don't even know about this, but there was a big Kent State massacre where a lot of students were shot.
I did hear about that.
And shortly thereafter, the bunch of students all marched on the local McDonald's and said, in honor of the students who were slain, we want you to lower the flag to half-mast. And so the store manager lowers the flag to half-mast. And then when Ray Kroc, who was the founder of McDonald's, who's kind of notoriously conservative, found out about this, he calls the store manager and goes, put that flag right back up. So he raises the flag. Now the students come back and they go, put it back down, and if you don't, we're going to burn the store to the ground. And the store manager's stuck. And he calls the president of McDonald's, and the president says, tell you what you do. We have a delivery coming in half an hour. Have him knock the flagpole down. And I have always used that metaphor as a way to say, when you're stuck with a problem, don't keep banging against the problem, which in some ways is unsolvable. Begin thinking of some totally different way to address it. And that's what I want you to kind of do here, is say, I can't try and sell a $600 ticket to a high school science teacher. So you've got to begin thinking of a bunch of ways. Number one is there a way to dramatically lower the price? No, I'm not going in the way you say. I'm saying that maybe you do a one-to-many. In other words, sell one drone and have it be a class project. And I'm not saying that's the business model, but that's the loss leader sales model. Because once one drone is in the classroom, and once the teacher begins working through that curriculum, it's a much, much simpler process to begin going from one to them buying the advanced kit.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. The only issue that I see is it's so small and it's catered to be one or two individuals. So we would have to shift our labs to make it so a whole class can do it at once together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, listen, you know better than I do, and you may find out that doesn't work. And I'm not saying I know how to sell it.
Yeah.
I'm brainstorming real time about ways to say, I don't want to keep asking for $600. And so one way is I ask for 50, which I would imagine it's a highly elastic price point for a student, for a teacher rather.
Yeah.
And if you can get them to do one, and you modify the curriculum, and you make it clear that once you've seen how well this works, and how much better it would work if people were working in groups of two, then you get the order from the secondary piece. Just an idea.
No, that's a great idea.
The second piece is that modify the program so it can be used with other drones, because the margins on your content will be tremendously higher than the margin on the drone. I'm not saying you don't want to ultimately have that be the product that you sell, but I'm thinking of ways to get the barrier for a teacher to start adapting your learning material at a cheaper price point so they can see how great this is, and then little by little. The third thing I'd suggest is find someone else to pay for it.
Okay.
One of the cleverest thing that I guess Scholastic did was they did these huge programs where parents bought books for their kids.
Yeah.
Because they had the exact same problem of having going to a teacher and saying, we want you to buy 30 copies, or same problem. It was not the budget. But if you put together a program which a high school teacher could circulate these it's a whole kit which allows them to go out to the parents, bring this home to your parents, or here's a way to do a fundraiser. In other words, you find some alternate mechanism so the teacher who goes, I really want to use this as my educational basis, but I can't pay for this out of my pocket, and there's no way I can get my department head to pay for it. Begin looking for someone else, and whether that's a fundraiser, whether that's parents, whether that's you show someone how they can do the equivalent of writing a grant to in other words, I don't have no clue. I've been involved with one ed tech startup, and it was enough to say I'm not going near that again ever for exactly the reasons that you're feeling. But that's what informed me of that. If you don't know, if you're banging your head against the wall trying to do something, don't keep pushing. Don't say I need better marketing. Don't say I need figure out some alternate mechanism to avoid the problem, which is that $600 price point. And there's probably a lot of ways if you begin knocking the flagpole down and saying, let's think of some completely random alternate way to do this.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I really like the idea of this, comparing it to Scholastic with the book fairs that they would host. How would you recommend reaching the parents, though? Because we have a strategy for getting in contact with principals and directors. Now, how do you get in contact with parents? Because there's so many more parents than there are directors and principals. So where do you target that?
That you have to figure out. You got to try a bunch of things.
Okay.
I would do a program the teacher can use.
Okay.
But I said I would, as if I really know what the hell I'm talking about. Off the top of my head, that's what I would try, because I think they're the motivated people to try and put together a program. And because you're an education major, you should certainly go out and speak to lots and lots of science teachers and go and run these ideas by them. How would this look? What materials would you want?
Yeah. That's
one. Another one, of course, is to advertise in all of the places where gifted and talented parents of gifted and talented kids who all want to have little baby Einsteins, and put together a program that they can do this for their kids' classroom. I mean, in other words, I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
But you're not reinventing the wheel in that program. You have an amazing product, but it strikes me that it's too expensive for someone to take a winger on, that they have to see and feel how it works. Oh gosh, now I'm brainstorming all kinds of stuff.
No, thank you.
Maybe you do a science fair pack.
Okay.
Where you have, you can either build a baking soda lava volcano, or here's 15 or 20 different great experiments for different ages and different focus that you could use this drone to do. And then, when the teacher is saying we have a science fair coming up, she can propose that to people, and the kids have to go out and buy the kit. But what you're really trying to do with all this is not make a business selling $50 kits. You're trying to use this as a penetrating device into the school.
Yeah.
You want the teacher to go, wow, this was really, really cool. And then it's easier to sell it to the department head, and then it's easier to sell for the department head to sell to the principal, and then your real win is when the principal sells it to the person who runs the school district.
Yeah.
But that can either happen with you having all kinds of high-priced salespeople who go calling on these people and are willing to have 6 to 12 to 18 to 24-month sales cycles, or you can do the guerrilla approach where you get them in the classroom any way you can, and have everyone go, this is the coolest thing.
Yeah, I think that's the approach that I definitely want to lean towards, because once people have it in their hands and they can see how it works, or even just watching our videos on how it works, kids are just fascinated with it. And we've gotten really great feedback from the educators who have purchased them about students going out and buying their own, because after doing it in class, they want their own. So I really like the idea of just banging down the doors and trying to get into schools any way we can. And the book fair idea with the drones, I really like that, as well as reaching the parents and doing a fundraiser.
These are things you're going to have to test, and the key is not dreaming and dreaming and dreaming and then rolling out this big thing. It's trying all these approaches. What's the cost of goods on this thing?
We have about 50% margin, so about $20.
What's wonderful about this is the fact that most of the value is in your materials, which are free, of course, or
Yes.
the cost of goods of almost zero. It's a PDF.
Mm-hmm.
One of the experiments you might do is sell them for $20 to teachers.
But the issue is we wouldn't make any money.
Yes, you would, because they would then buy the 20 pack for their next year's school,
I
for
see
their
what you're
next year's
saying.
class.
Yeah, that's
So-
an interesting idea.
And the test, though, is what percentage does that. So, in other words, you have a program which is you're allowed to buy if you are in the category that we're interested in, which is you demonstrate you teach a STEM high school class. We'll sell you the evaluation kit. It's one copter. It's $20. Make it 25. Make it 50. Try the price points. That isn't the point.
Okay.
The point is you want to get one in the classroom. You want to develop some content which is designed for one class with 20 people all looking
Yeah.
around. And again, I keep saying this, you're the education major. You figure out how someone could teach a class of 20 people using one copter.
Okay.
But then once you have it, once that person's using it, they're going to get just as excited and frustrated.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, I need to figure out how to now, for next year's class or for next semester's class, I want to have it so I can use all the advanced curriculum, which is 2 kids per copter. And then what do you know? You have that kit and you have more advanced things. And then the last thing is I certainly would say that you may envision that your model is these things flying all over the world, but you have one hardware product which has lead times for manufacturing, is going to have cost for manufacturing, is going to have inventory problems for manufacturing, and has a 50% margin. And on the other hand, you have all this other value which has 99% margins. And you may want to be thinking long term about how your business model really works.
Okay.
And that you might want to say something like test. The copters are $20
Yeah.
and the material is $100.
Yeah, I was really hesitant at first when you said to charge 20 for it, but I really, now that I'm thinking about it, that's a really great idea, just to get it in the classrooms with what you were saying, because as I said before, once students can actually get their hands on it, they really like it, as well as teachers.
So what you should also do in your mind, this is a technique that I use quite a bit, is so imagine 12 months from now, you're going out to raise some real money.
Yeah.
Imagine playing the movie of that presentation in your head. And what are you saying? What are you pitching? And what metrics are you using to illustrate your success? And then you back up as to how do I begin collecting that metric? And I think a fascinating metric is, hypothetically, again, caveats up galore. That's a better way to say that. We put them in the classrooms for $20 and we lose $10 each time we do that. But 30% of all of those placed items result in an order of 40 more copters over the next 18 months.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's a land and expand strategy.
Yeah.
But you need to then be saying that the end goal is not a model where I sell $20, zero margin, in fact, loss leader, because you have marketing, acquisition costs, and shipping, and all that crap. But it's purely a strategy designed to get it into the.
Into the schools.
Yep.
Yeah, I really like that.
See, now I'm in the fun stage of stopping talking about brainstorming these things.
No, I appreciate it. Sometimes when you look at it for so long, you kind of get stumped, because there's days where I'll just stare at the drone, just wondering what I can do next.
Other way to do it is to break it apart, sell it in pieces.
Yeah, it is sold in pieces.
No, it's not. It's sold. All the pieces are in pieces. Literally sell them in pieces.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
What's the big price point? The battery, most expensive part?
The PCB board.
Yeah. So maybe unfortunately, that's a 1-to-1 relationship.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm just
Yeah.
I'm looking for some way to not charge $600. That's just a
Yeah.
killer for you.
Yeah, I understand that. We did look at our competitors to see what they were charging, and we couldn't find another drone like STEM kit that students build as they learn about all the science, technology, engineering, and math. And so we compared it to other like educational technology tools, and we found that ours is the lowest price point. But you're right, because $600 is a lot, especially for a teacher who's already buying their own decorations and materials for the classroom. So we do need to find a way to get over that hurdle. And maybe it's the time of year because their budgets come and go at certain times of the year. Things like that we definitely need to test out and experiment more with.
Yeah. There's a way to solve this. And one last thing, tell me why you abandoned the B2C.
It's not completely abandoned. It's just on the back burner. We found that schools have the money. We want to sell in volume rather than just one at a time. And we found that schools are where we have the success with it. And we also really wanted to make a difference in the education field because I'm an educator. I have a really strong passion for STEM. So we wanted to teach students about all of it in a fun, creative way that was adapted for all learning types. And we also wanted to instill entrepreneurship by kind of sharing our story. The last lab in the 5 that we do have talks about entrepreneurship, and hopefully it'll spark that little interest for them as well.
Well, fascinating. Well, I really love what you're doing.
Thank you.
And what's kind of interesting is this is now a product kind of looking for the right way to sell it rather than someone who's identified this hole and trying to figure out what to sell.
Yeah.
So you're in a good position.
Thank
Well,
you.
anyway, I do wish you huge amounts of luck with this. Hope it, if you'll pardon the expression, takes off.
Thank you.
And let's check in sometime in the future
Yeah, I would
and
love
let me
to.
know what worked.
All right. Thank you so much for meeting with me today. This was great.
My pleasure, Aaron. Good luck.
Thank you.
So if you've got an entrepreneurial question and you'd like to be a guest on the That Will Never Work podcast, I would love to talk with you. Just come to markrandolph.com/guest and apply.